Welcome back to the LCS Lounge. Ready for our final game, TSM versus Golden Guardians. But first, we actually have to look at the standings because top 6 make playoffs. And aside from Team Liquid losing today, I'd say everything else has made for a most interesting playoff race.
Yeah, we have 100 Thieves and CLG closing the gap now, basically half a game behind TSM. So if TSM wants to stay ahead of these teams, they need to win this game. And in doing so, would also tie Golden Guardians, who are right above them. And remember, top 4 get a bye in playoffs. You get that double elimination.
Yeah,
not a bye, but a double elim.
What a massive week so far for 100 Thieves. Golden Guardians trying to avoid the collapse. It seemed almost impossible that they wouldn't be in the playoffs after week 6, but an 0-2 would definitely hurt them here, and we've decided to spend a little time doing some analysis on report cards. So the way this is going to work
is. Let's go.
Yeah, it's actually a really important game.
Yeah, it is.
So we're going lane by lane. Where on the spectrum do you put each of these matchups? So if you thought it was a 100-0 matchup, you put your face on Licorice's side, 100-0 for Solo, you put it on Solo's side, or somewhere in the middle.
All right, so we're starting with top lane?
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you your head jet to join us.
You go first.
I'm going, this is like, to me, this is like 55%. Does that look like a 5%?
That's close, yeah.
Yeah.
That's like a 55% for me in favor of Solo. I'll hop onto the TSM side. You guys are going to put yours down?
I mean, yeah. Well, I'm curious what your thoughts are, but I was thinking
Well, I don't
this.
want to like sway you with my brilliant logic.
I've seen too much Renekton lately.
Yeah, I was gonna go like 60-40, so that would be right where about where
You can stick it on
is.
Jad. I don't care. No, just stick it over his face.
No, that feels
Yeah, I'm not.
So for me, the thing about this is that they play actually very similar styles for their teams. They are often just frontline, often left on weak side. They do get some jungle proximity, but for the most part, they are working to work for the front line of their team because they have carries who are going to go scaling in late game. So I think they both do similar things. I just prefer Solo's champ pool and his play a little bit more this split. Licorice has gotten picked on a couple more times, I feel like. And the Renekton pick, while I think it's fine, he talks about how he thinks it scales, I still don't think it provides as much utility as like a Sion or some of the things that Solo's spamming.
I also think that Solo, you can see when he is on those tanks, his positioning in team fights is really, really good. And TSM is by far and away, I think, our most standard 5v5 team. And a lot of it has to do with not just Solo's champ pool, but also his positioning.
I mean,
big agree?
Jungle.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Wait, you didn't give us any of our heads.
Yeah,
You're on
what?
that side. You're supposed to.
Wow.
You didn't.
Yeah,
you
I
prepped
was just
them. You
not
prepped them.
helping
All right, you're home. You
Yeah, I
just
prepped him. I'm
thank
going
you.
right here.
Wow, that's a pretty big lead for River.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people were saying River could be the MVP
Whoa.
like a week ago.
2 weeks ago. They're trolling.
You're fitty-fitty.
I'll just stand right in the middle and block the shot.
Yeah. I think really highly of River, actually.
I'll go, I guess, on the Bugi side.
Even though I know this is like
neutral.
Yeah.
This is the wrong day to be hyping up River. I know like Closer absolutely got the best of him in the game we just saw them play yesterday. However, again, I think very highly of River. I think he has such a great understanding of where to be on the map. I think he still has really, really strong communication with his lanes. So I do give him the edge over Bugi, even while admitting that like Bugi and Maple together is one of TSM's main strengths.
I think, for me, I would have River higher if I didn't think Bugi was actually so good as well.
Yeah.
Because I think for most of the split, it was kind of a Bugi win condition. So Solo could team fight well, Maple would have pretty good control, but they kind of needed to just flip the early game because their laning was so bad. I think it's gotten better since they put WildTurtle in, but we'll get to that in a bit, which is why I have Bugi pretty high, because I agree with what Emily said. River has been amazing.
Yeah, for me, I think River's just come back down to earth a little bit. And I think people right off the first 4 games were like, he was fine, don't get me wrong, but it was like the 7-game stretch and people are just like, just forget those, he's an MVP. And it's like, I don't think you can just forget 4 games of the season when there's 18 games. So for me, River was good in those games, not great. Bugi is just like this team's early game win con. He plays Elise, everyone else plays scaling, and his job is to just bridge them. And I think he's actually done a pretty good job of that. I'm ready to move on.
All right. Oh, God.
Come on, man.
Hey, did not throw well. I thought it was thicker paper.
All right, Gori versus Maple.
Yeah, you guys are gonna think.
Oh, you're crazy. You
Whoa.
are crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, that's too far.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
too far.
like the biggest mismatch we've had so far.
I'm like slightly, it's like almost 50-50. I think Gori actually does a lot for.
All right, who wants to? I guess I'll go first for Gori. For me, he's changed this team's entire identity once he joined and had that time to actually acclimate, not playing on a single day of scrims. He is such an aggressive player. He actually leads mid laners in solo kills. He brings this spark to give them that mid-jungle combo to try and take over the early game. And when they didn't have him, you saw how kind of lifeless this Golden Guardian squad was, because, you know, Licorice is playing weak side on the top side, Stixxay and huhi are mostly scaling, and huhi likes to roam and move out of lane, but he didn't have anywhere to go. And Gori kind of gave them that, like, final bit of spark that they needed to become a legitimate threat.
You're a victim of highlight culture, Mark.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Because yes, he has big plays, but you forget about the bad ones. Maple is
I'll give
consistently
you that.
a team fight presence, doesn't make big mistakes in lane. I think the consistently good play is big, and I think Gori just has too many oopsies, so that's why I have to give it to Maple, because Gori could be one of the reasons Golden Guardians lose the game.
True, but he's also a lot of the reasons they win the game now that they've been winning more games.
That's the highlight.
Who made a better case?
We've been told to speed
Yeah,
up.
we have to speed it up?
no, here, yeah, we have
Yeah.
to speed it up. I'm gonna give them, actually, I'd say more of an edge.
WildTurtle is shiny,
Yeah.
but Stixxay huhi have been
I also
crushing this
think,
season.
like we talked about how WildTurtle stats hadn't been good in NACL. I think another reason why he's looked so good on this TSM team, they've slotted him really well, and Chime has been performing really well too. I know his laning is still something that gets picked on a bit, but I do think that Chime has also been, even when he was partnered with Neo, performing really well.
I'm all for Turtle and Chime. I think Turtle's really helped them out. But for me, the problem, sorry, I gave you the wrong head. I think there's just way too much data. It's just 3 games of Turtle. I've been very impressed, but like they've been great all split long, so I just got to go them.
All right, X Factor can be whatever we want.
All right,
How good looking
I
they
actually
are,
have something for this.
Okay.
With stats. So basically, in order to see like how much teams 5v5, and this is why I gave the edge to TSM here, not by a ton, but I averaged the kill participation of every member on their team. TSM has by far the highest. This doesn't make them a better team necessarily, but it means when they are fighting, they're at 74%, significantly higher than anyone else in the LCS as their average kill participation. So when they are fighting together as a team, as 5. I think they're really coordinated about it. So that's why I gave them the edge.
I'm with you on the team fighting angle. I'm with it. They have a very good draft identity.
Whoa! What?
I'm falling off.
This
just
has to be a
you're too
meme.
lazy to move.
Did you see their chemistry yesterday?
They were really
three
good
of them?
on the.
Baylife is back.
Their interviews was great.
The vibes are good.
The vibes.
It's true.
They got good vibes.
Vibes are very important. That's the final bit of our analysis. I had the most extreme take in 4 out of 5 cases.
I gotta go. I'm going to
Let's
cast
toss
this
to the
game
cast.
too.
Oh, yeah.
Actually.
Bye.
Bye, Mark.
Okay.
Mark, you gotta get over here. You're the surprise. MarkZ is gonna be casting with us, but he needs to haul
Well, now
his boot.
nobody's gonna be surprised. I guess he said it.
He just said it. He's like,
Yeah.
I gotta go cast.
All right, let's get it to TSM versus Golden Guardian.
There he is.
They
Get
are
in here, Mark.
1 game ahead of TSM. So this is huge implications for both teams for playoffs. Mark, we've left Ezreal's box here too for you to stand on.
I was
so
gonna say, there's not really much
congratulations, I
room
guess.
for me here.
I mean, we can just kick it back.
I'll
Or
just
you can,
sit.
you can sit on it.
I mean, this is just another catching up with double lift segment right here, right?
No, it's not.
Oh, no?
We don't acknowledge that outside the room.
Welcome to the children's table. We've got Vi, Annie, Caitlyn banned from the side of Golden Guardians, followed by the Varus and Sejuani. I'm assuming an Ashe here. Gotta be Ashe or, oh, they're letting it through. This is the most highly sought after champion in the entire game right now across all regions.
You saw it let through in that game where EG picked it, showed the power of it.
Yeah.
I also like the respect ban on the Caitlyn, which Turtle absolutely popped off on yesterday, so I'm excited to see where they go from here, because this does force the pinch. TSM, by leaving that up, says, do you want to take Bugi's Elise away? And that's what they actually decided to do, which does give the Ashe over now.
Yeah, I think they for sure grabbed the Ashe here for Chime, set up a nice strong lane for WildTurtle. He did so much for them yesterday, taking dragons with headshots, absolutely popping off. Classic Turtle here. Ooh, they forego the Ashe, they hover it, they switch
It's
over to the Rakan.
This is Chime's most successful champion in his career, above a 70% win rate across both his time in LCS and in Challengers League as well, and it's going to be the Viego for Bugi.
My goodness, some upsetting of the expectations here by TSM. They have a very aggressive look here with the Viego lock-in as well into this Elise. Zeri going to be locked in, you assume. Oh, not going to be locked in.
what is going on with this draft, man? We thought we were like, oh,
No,
it's Ash and all this, and they're like, nah.
Jayce is like 2-8 in North America right now. It's definitely has not looked good.
Are you puzzled?
If you have Elise though, then you have multiple forms here to be able to poke and then tower dive with. Maybe, and they can get the Sion for a big beefy front line to soak up this Rakan engage.
Wow, double solo lanes picked here, assuming there's no trickery with like Jayce going bot or anything crazy like that.
Oh,
The entire
no.
top side of the map has been picked away.
We don't need to remind ourselves of the Jayce bot lane back from Worlds 2015.
Yeah, it seems like they just want to grab their favorite AD laner before next round of bans so that Elise has a strong AD to play off of. And River and Gori have been the 1-2 wombo combo for Golden Guardians.
It's just so interesting because, one, you normally don't see this much mismatching going on with the current meta. It's usually bot lane and jungle in the first rotation of picks. And here, Golden Guardians kind of said, forget that. They don't know what they're playing into, but they've already taken all that away.
It's going to make bans really easy, though, because the TSM just ban away bottom lanes now for Golden Guardians, and they're just going to ban away protection bans here for the Jayce, I assume, for their solo lanes. Sion does not need protection.
I mean, Zeri's already taken off the board at TSM, and maybe they might want to take away the bars, but then what bot lane combinations does that leave up with for Golden Guardians? You have a decent front line with this Sion.
Kai'Sa is still available here. They could throw some extra dive in on it. Then if you get like a Kai'Sa kill lane on bottom side, then you go for Elise dives down there. You really need somewhere for your Elise to go early on. You can kind of work with the Jayce.
Not a ton of setup, though.
Exactly.
Yeah, you could go Thresh Aphelios is another thing we've seen. Outside, like, the initial super power picks of, like, Zeri Lulus and Ashe picks and stuff like that. After that, it does feel like the bot lane meta opens up quite a bit. Stixxay even is a bit of a Sivir player. Like, who knows where they want to go from here to get more late game assurance, because you could, with the Sion frontline, still kind of go that angle. I know a lot of pro players feel like Jayce, despite the early game power, does actually scale to become a pretty competent team fighter if you're playing him well, though Kobe kind of mentioned the NA Jayce curse already.
And there's not many teams in the entire ecosystem of both LCS and Challengers League that dive mid lane. I think WildCard is the only team that has been doing that recently, but it's so hard to do and so hard to actually pull off. It does leave room to question what is going to be Golden Guardians bot lane of choice. There's still Varus, there's still the Kai'Sas you mentioned.
There's also a concern about damage profile right now. There's not an insane frontline, but you have to assume that Solo will lock in a tanky
That's
top
a lock,
laner.
baby.
Oh,
okay.
boy.
Veigar got some buffs on the last patch, some range buffs for W and Q. And we're going to see the Maple Veigar pulled out here. Love it. You can just move in, try and get the one shot.
I think it's the first time we're seeing it in the LCS this split, if I'm not mistaken. So.
This split,
Senate Cho'Gath?
Last
Is it
year we
Senate
definitely
Cho'Gath?
had.
Oh, no.
Oh, damn it.
I appreciate the idea. Ezreal Soraka instead.
Yeah, but the Stixxay Ezreal has been very, very good for them. This is one of the champions where he first started winning Player of the Week with, and the Ezreal poke does complement the Jayce poke for later on. I think it might be difficult here with Rakan engaged, followed up by Veigar Cage. There is a lot of good hard CC here for TSM. And Solo, the OG Cho'Gath.
Yeah, they're hovering some more interesting stuff. Of course, it wasn't going to come through. The Cho'Gath makes sense. This front line, very heavy physical damage on the side of Golden Guardians. So, you know, if you can kind of get through some of this, what looks like dangerous early game, I think they actually have a very solid, well-rounded teamfight comp, which is kind of TSM's MO this season.
They have been some of our most insane late game team fighters in the entire league. But for Golden Guardians, you called it out, Kobe, this looks like a poke comp, and you have a war of attrition that you can wage with a Soraka in your back pocket. You trade blow for blow, poke after poke, but then you can keep your main carries topped off on HP as you are winning out the siege wars as well as control over Dragon and Baron.
Exactly, and the biggest things that you need to accomplish when you have a poke comp, get an early lead so that you can play off of a snowball sieging up these towers, and two, try and avoid getting engaged on and flanked on. So warding out, spotting this Rakan, marking is a big term that people always frequently use when you're looking at that main engage. Because if the Rakan hits, guess what? You're getting ruptured, you're getting Veigar caged, you're getting bombs dropped on your head, and you're gonna get one shot with the ultimate as well. So with Veigar ult and the Cho'Gath ultimate, there's a lot of one-shot ultimates coming through from the side of TSM if you get hit by that CC. So footwork will be imperative for the Golden Guardians.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they can hold on this game. It is TSM one game, half a game back from Golden Guardians basically right now. If they can win this game, they'll tie them in the standings and fight for that all-important 4th place position. You get that second life in playoffs.
The fact that Golden Guardians and TSM are at this stage in the regular split was something that not many of us thought that we were going to come see through fruition, but the fact that TSM and Golden Guardians have clawed their way here, they have earned this place in the regular season compared to some of the other favorites that we were expecting, just goes to show how successful of a season they've had so far.
Yeah, I think we've referenced a lot of power rankings this year, more than normal, I think, for good reason, just because it is such a strange year where so few of people's predictions are kind of going true. And these are two of the teams that people did not have high hopes for. There were grumblings, I think, you know, like, oh, when Gori gets here, supposedly he was doing good in scrims in the preseason, but like, I still think the fact that this is a battle for fourth for these two teams is something no one predicted, and so cool to see kind of this story, as well as the fact, you know, like Turtle's coming in. There's so many things to talk about with both of them.
Definitely some exciting stuff, some high pressure moments leading towards playoffs. No shenanigans early on though, as far as moving in for any of these level ones. The only sweeper on the field is River's sweeper for the Elise, looking for that level 3 play. Starting on red side here, he's gonna start Raptors into a bottom focus clear, I would presume. Raptors red, Krugs maybe head towards the Ezreal Soraka.
It makes a little bit of sense given that there's not a clear lane to gank for, but you still should have prio in some of these lanes and go for a more invade focus and kind of going after the Viego. But we already see some adaptations. Bugi after the red buff just immediately heading into the bot side, dropping defensive wards to make sure that that play is not called out. Very heads up jungling by both these guys.
Yeah, I mean, with Soraka Ezreal lane here getting such heavy poke and pushing in early on, if they could stack a wave here, definitely have some options open for the Elise, but don't have to hard commit. There are double wards to the river. Everybody's looking at that ramp. You can see it right now. They're very well aware. Elise is in the game. Everyone's thinking, make sure you don't get tower dove. Okay, Mark.
I did it with the arrow one. I'm fresh. It's my first cast of the year. I got the wrong thing selected. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You get one. But we also have Bugi, you know, like you talked about, trying to cover for that play. So
yep.
River moves in with that sweeper that I mentioned to clear out some of this.
This is why people are so hot on both these junglers, just being able to read each other's moves. You know, that sweeper like you called out, saying, okay, well, we'll see if they know that River's invade's coming. They do. River instantly bounces off that play to clear up to his top side of the map, knowing that the bot play is already covered. So both these guys having very good moves initially. River also knowing that that ward is there, it's kind of a tell that he must have moved in a little bit earlier. So he's actually going to counter jungle up on the top side or try and meet Bugi on one of these camps, thinking that they're left up.
Maybe looking for a pick. I mean, you have that burst advantage over Viego at this stage in the game, whereas Bugi needs a few more levels before he can match up to that burst of River. But he's going to look for mid lane, and that's the classic setup. You throw down the cage, you force Gori to flash away. A little bit of damage, but it should not be a kill.
Whoa.
I don't think, right? Oh, that was close.
Yeah, meanwhile on the top side, the gank that River's going for coming through.
He dodged the cocoon, but he's got nowhere else to run, boys. That is first blood for Golden Guardians.
Trapped in the alcove versus certain death here. No way he gets out of that one. So Solo holds on to his flash at the very least. Good job there, Veigar. Calling it out. The only 2 Veigar games this year, by the way, so far in the top 4 regions at least, were the 2 in the LCK from UCal and Showmaker. Both of them went with the buffed up Rod of Ages and Seraph's combination. So we'll see if we can get some similar scaling stuff here from Maple. Obviously, you also always want to get Death Cap. It is one of the best items. Okay, it's the best item in the entire game.
When you
get
Veigar. Free AP, you kind of want to amplify that free AP.
Rushing as quickly as you can towards a Death Cap is also very highly preferred.
It's always interesting, too, to see the off-tank adaptations from Veigar players around the world. Sometimes you'll see a Dead Man's Plate just so you get not only that extra bit of tankiness.
As long as you get that after a Death Cap, acceptable.
Yeah. That's the main caveat. I did like a Bugi checking a lot of the vision control here. They weren't ready to set up a play on Gori, but they know that for the next few minutes while his flash is down, it's super easy for a rinse and repeat gank off of just cage setup.
Yeah, that's an important point to kind of attack early on, even though they don't get that kill. You kind of stem that pressure point that Golden Guardians was going to leverage for a lot of their early game playmaking. The fact that they didn't even have to burn any of their ultimates to set that up, just by some nice pathing by Bugi.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it super easy now for Maple to get the most out of his passive, farm up AP easily, because Gori has to be very scared and paying attention to wards all of the time. If Viego comes in and flash stuns you, that is a guaranteed cage.
Yep.
You are going to get locked up. So definitely should prove good for Maple's ability power stacking. We'll keep track of those passive passive stacks as well. 33 already so far in the early game.
Yeah, the early adaptations from Bugi counteracts a lot of what the win conditions need to be set up by Golden Guardians and River. I mean, yes, he's got 1 kill on the top side of the map, but you need to get your 2 main carries that have all the poking power accelerated. Otherwise, you will not have that War of Attrition power come mid-game.
Speaking about that kill on the top side of the map, I do like how Solo did not use his flash. We didn't see the setup of that, as I will maybe continue this point in a second. Looks like we may have a skirmish around mid.
River dodging it out on the repel. No need to use the flash, and now might look to turn around with a cocoon. Just waiting, not throwing out the skill shot. It's forcing Chime and Bugi to dance back and forth. River finally throws out the cocoon. Skirmish is over.
I mean, nice little defense here of the control ward. River able to easily repel and then exchange here with Chime. They defend their control ward. We were just mentioning how critical vision defense for Gori is right now with no flash, and they invest a lot into it. Huhi then finally is able to make his transition over and chase out the members of TSM.
Going back to that top side point, River getting that kill, being able to finish Boost 2 right off the get-go feels very good for those kinds of early skirmishes there.
Yep.
And the thing I was saying was for Solo, we didn't see it because it was a kind of a 2 ganks happening at one time, but he actually held his flash, which allows him to continue to trade aggressively into Licorice, which you saw him kind of getting that advantage there. Sometimes you blow your flash, and you dying doesn't change how the lane's going to play as much as you losing your flash, because then you have to play more defensively from then on. So I think that's heads up.
And that's been the story of Solo this entire split, right? He knows that he's not necessarily the best laner in the league, but he knows how to play the best weak side of almost any top player in the league, and he always delivers due. I think there is that one meme where Scrim Solo where he goes like 0-20, but he still is a vicious tank in the late game when it matters.
How excited is everyone for Sion versus Cho'Gath? Have we hyped it up enough? have we sold anyone that this is interesting? Here we go!
Yes! I mean, I would postulate that the best weak side game would be not dying in the alcove, but yeah, if you are gonna die there, then don't burn the flash. But Cho'Gath is so good into Sion, into these tank matchups, and now has a really, really easy time scaling towards the later stages of the game with all the buffs towards the mana cost for himself, as well as the Q damage. So Solo is no stranger to the champion. Bottom side, WildTurtle gets out of the silence.
And Bugi's in the area. Wanted to start up the dragon off the pressure from WildTurtle and Chime, but River deflects that. Going to give Stixxay and huhi the option to push in this lane.
You can feel how touch and go it is in the bot lane. Multiple attempts where the junglers have kind of ended up at the same spot. You can feel very much that Elise wants to make something happen. Viego wants to cover all these plays. They've done a good job so far of kind of marking Elise. Yes, he did get that 1 kill. Not the most important lane to be influencing, though, and since then have done a good job making sure they know where River wants to go on the map. And while it is an 800 gold lead, that's kind of expected when you look at the draft here from Golden Guardians that they would hop out to something like this.
Yeah, and Stixxay and huhi has been such a strong force for them to play off of, too. A lot of this resurgence of Golden Guardians, people plotting this bottom lane for all the pressure they can put out. This Ezreal, Soraka able to push in first. And when you get to push in first on bottom lane, it doesn't look like much, but look where huhi is right now. Since he's in Fog of War coming from base, you get to start up this Rift-Tailed. Your enemies know full well you have support recall timer also. He doesn't even have to commit to that play fully. They can easily get their objective. Then he can just go right back down towards the bottom side and continue supporting Stixxay.
Yeah, Stixxay also on Ezreal being one of the best 1v2 champions in the game. You can always just pelt away with Mystic Shot. You can Arcane Shift away if they actually try and engage onto you. Does lead to a situation where TSM's going to start up this Drake. Probably going to get this one for free, but not a big deal. The Rift Herald, of course, more important for them advancing this early game win con.
Yeah, they need the gold acceleration to hit those spikes earlier so that they can get to that mid game. TSM taking a dragon this late does not bode well for their dragon stacking. You would have to stall the game long enough to get to soul contention.
Yeah, but you hit the nail on the head with the first part there of Siege being critical here for Golden Guardians. So Rift Herald, get that turret plate money, use that early power, that snowball to group up, pelt them with skill shots before you actually have to go for the engage.
You see the strength of schedule for the remaining teams. Both of them have some winnable games ahead of them.
Yeah.
Does bode well for their playoff chances, but this is the one, like we said, that the head-to-head, trying to maybe avoid getting into the lower bracket right there. And so far, I gotta say, TSM looking pretty good. I think they've done a good job holding on. It's about finding now where River wants to drop this Rift Herald, getting advanced warning, and trying to be there when it comes in, because if you can cage off the follow-up, you know, the charge will probably come through, but you can stop them from grabbing that turret.
Usually I say, okay, you know, I'm fine if you put it bottom lane, but this game, I think you've got to put it towards mid lane. Take away the safety of the Veigar for farming, get this Jayce immediately accelerated so you can get first item, so you can really start to poke down on them, because the Soraka plus Ezreal lane, they'll be fine pushing in on their own.
Solo going for some dirty proxy farm in here. Gets a turret plate for himself as well. He's off recovering nicely from the early death.
A good thing for Gori, too. The diffused and walked away from any pressure that could have happened from TSM had they looked for a rinse gank while his flash timer was down, but it's back up, so he's not in any danger for the time being. Next Dragon is not happening for another 3 minutes, guys, so seems like Golden Guardians, they're going to have to choose when to use this Rift Herald sooner than later, as plates will be going down. And Chime looks for an opportunity all in onto huhi. He throws down the Silence Shroud down and pops the barrier, hoping the Wish as well, but they want this kill so badly. TSM pull the feathers right out of huhi.
Such a heads-up play by Turtle there, waiting until he got his ultimate feathers down to get a much bigger pull through there. It was tempting off the initial CC of Chime to go for the chain CC, but knowing that he wanted the damage as well because he had to cut through the barrier and the Soraka ultimate.
Another death by ward. Nice ward in the side lane brush there. Sees him recalling. Immediate engage from Chime. You mentioned, contrary to his name, Rakan being really a signature champion.
Yeah, that and Thresh. Like that's what he made his name on coming up through amateur. It was actually his Thresh and then later his
There's
Rakan.
the culprit right there.
Yeah, as soon as they see the recall complete, you see Chime pop his ultimate there. And then here's what we're talking about. Holding this ultimate until you have the time to get the bigger chunk of damage. Just heads up play by Turtle there.
Definitely good stuff here. And Golden Guardians, they swap over Ezreal to the top side, so they still get some of the split the turret plate money with him.
Oh, and this is why you cannot face check a unwarded area if you are Viego early on into the game, because the Elise just destroys you.
Yeah, Golden Guardians, nice play off the reset. You had that death come through and they instantly change, flip up to the top side, and before TSM can get that defensive vision that they've done such a good job of putting out, they're then walking in blind. You see that chain CC combo of the stun into the silence, into the root. Very, very difficult to survive that. And Golden Guardians, I was worried after that initial death. They're coming right back though, getting a lot of chip damage down this turret top side.
Bouncing back, just a little delayed from how normally fast we have seen Golden Guardians play during their surge in the regular split when they were on that large win streak. But being able to get the Rift Herald, more gold into Stixxay's pockets, even if they have to swap lanes to the top side of the map, allows them to keep in track for that win condition they want to set themselves up at 15.
Yep, siege up at these towers. They took initiative. They rotated first. They got to the tri-brush first. They have the vision advantage. So then Bugi face checks into them. They continue to be able to exert the extra poke power here. Meanwhile, mid lane, Maple continues to farm it up on Veigar.
Stack check.
Stat check 118 at 13 minutes into the game.
I gotta be honest, I'm not sure what good breakpoints are for Veigar. I'm sure Veigar V2's
Me neither, bro.
Gonna tweet at us and let us know also all the dark tech for whatever.
This seems really good to me.
It sounded good too, but I didn't want to.
Considering the early action there, where they're able to blow the flash off of Gori early.
Also, already has his Rod of Ages completed, getting close to finishing off his tier stacking as well. Seems like he is on pace. First strike as well. He's got all the stacking abilities.
Yeah, yeah. That's what the Showmaker build as well. Get those ramping dual item combination into the death cap for third, and you will be pounding them.
And here comes the Golden Guardians composition, or at least a little taste of it. Accelerated Shock Blast trying to chunk out TSM, but there's not a completed item spike for Gori quite yet. It's just components, so the Shock Blasts don't hit as hard as they would like, but they're going to go for the engage. Bugi engages, but gets blown up by the burst damage from Golden Guardians, and there's no rebuttal from the side of TSM. They're forced out of the river.
Bugi just stranded ahead of the rest of the team. They had the cage to try and protect him, try and maybe find a way out for him, but it was too easy for the rest of Golden Guardians to collapse down onto him. That also means that TSM are going to have to back off this dragon. Like you said, that dragon stacking, not really a real win con of theirs anyways, but this is going to start it in Golden Guardians' favor.
Take another look at those jungler rankings that we did on the analyst segment.
I got to move my head a little further to the riverside, you're saying? Maybe?
The cope angle is that the Soraka silence is throwing a big rut in the entire wheel of the chain.
It's comp diff, as you can see.
Elise and Ezreal and Soraka. This duo, this trio, I did not expect to be this potent, but they are making damn short work of TSM's HP bars.
River gets out to the minion just a little bit ahead, and they're going to be able to easily redouble their efforts. The tower's also going to die, so huge value on the pick here. Golden Guardians effectively snowballing ahead.
This is the trio kind of Golden Guardians. Gori not as involved, but River and Huhi have been incredible ever since Gori joined them. They have been all over the map together. And it's the case again here where you can see River and Huhi are the two comboing together, finding all this CC and picks.
Really big for them to do this in this game as well for the Golden Guardians. I know, this team does have a lot of haters as far as being one of the teams that historically has not been up towards the top of the standings. Sven is very vocal every time he gets to do an interview.
He said it again today. Yeah.
Talking about being one of those. But Golden Guardians, this is exactly what you have to do, is take down the other teams that are right next to you in the standings to prove to the haters you are where you belong.
With the mid-season stride they showed, it definitely made a lot of us realize that not only they were, you know, kind of showing up above expectations, they're now not only more than playoff contenders, they could be title contenders based on how strong some of their performances have been. It's the cleanliness and the consistent execution off of this trio from huhi, Stixxay, and River that have just turned so much up in the mid-season.
Yeah, 3K gold lead now. TSM was at the Rift Trail first, trying to see if someone would face check, but once Golden Guardians showed up en masse, there's no way they can actually take this team fight. So it's a clever idea, knowing that Golden Guardians are going to be moving this objective. Oh, maybe they actually will take this fight.
Huge decimating smash from Licorice, and the silence prevents Bugi or Maple from being able to do anything. Chime tries to buy time with the quickness, but they just charmed up Golden Guardians. There's no damage follow-up that can even fathom afterward.
What are TSM fighting over here? I'm stunned to see them walk back forward after Golden Guardians has grabbed control of the vision. They have control of the river, and then they just kind of face check the entire side of Golden Guardians and hand them back some kills. It was such an easy engage for Licorice there.
You were stunned. Maple was stunned from 100% to 0.
Then silenced.
Body hit the ground immediately. Layered.
Uh-oh. And WildTurtle forced to use the Feather Storm. A flank from Chime and Solo on the right side. The repel. They tried to time the rupture on Reverse Descent, but it's not even necessary. They still have the burst damage to get that shutdown. And now Bugi is a spider. He's gonna walk away with it.
That's a very necessary shutdown for TSM to get here. Try and slow down the war machine that's pushing ahead here from Golden Guardians. Now remember, examining the comps, and we talked about it in Champ Select, this was a priority for Golden Guardians. They have to play off the early lead, have to snowball with the poke comp. They're gonna go for a dive though.
And Solo's got no flash to walk away from this one. Easy pickup for Stixxay. This Ezreal has been accelerated, boys.
Oh yeah, the vision control of TSM has come apart a little bit there. Gori able to get into the river and behind the turret to find that kill as the turret dropped. That little bit of artificial safety that you feel around a low HP turret.
For all the TSM fans who are feeling unwell right now, don't worry, there is a path back into the game. The biggest thing is that these types of poke comps do collapse very heavily if you can make them collapse. If you can get that engaged to get a full team fight victory, you get to collect a lot of bounties, a lot of gold back onto your side, and you have the super scaling Veigar here, who is still has some time to cook here for Maple, but that's what you tell yourself. We're scaling.
Yeah, we're still scaling, boys. Here we go.
And we do have a lot of CC to work with later.
You pinged the Gathering Storms like, guys, I'm getting the stacks. Don't worry.
It's definitely true, though, that poke comps are one of the easiest comps to get a lead on early because you usually have prio with these champions that build these comps, and then also one of the hardest to execute on later where you are more fragile. You might lack some of the utility that other comps will bring, but I will say, with the Sion in the front line and the Soraka backing it up, it's a little sturdier than some other variations of poke comps where like all 3 lanes go for the prio.
Huhi also going for a optimistic flash. I'll put it that way. I think they were looking for a kill opportunity there.
All right, teleport in. They want to go for this pincer movement. Veigar on the flank. Maple, can he get a good cage here?
They know huhi doesn't have flash. That might be the target. He walks right into the Soraka, right point blank, and the rest of TSM follow up beautifully. And now Bugi gets to be Soraka, looks for the silence of his own, but he will want to reset back to Viego, as he now gets to be a little bit more durable. It's 5-on-4 for TSM.
That's that flank for TSM. They see 25 seconds on the Dragon spawn, and they go for the teleport play. They surgically remove the Soraka, but they sustain a lot of damage in the process, and they're going to give up the objective in the aftermath, teleporting solo out to push on the top side and try and collect the remnants of that outer tower.
I mean, they insta-punish the flashless Soraka after that overeager play by huhi. Still could not stick around for the tail end of that fight because they'd used basically all their cooldowns on that. But still, a nice little extra influx of gold that you can find there.
If they can't get the remnants of that tower on top side, though, from the defense here of Gori, it's just that kill gold for the teleport used from Veigar, so not a huge bit of a comeback there for them. Golden Guardians do a pretty good job stabilizing in the aftermath, even though it was a very good setup from TSM.
And it's not like huhi had shutdown bounty either, so in the end, that is basically 2 teleports for kill and punishing a flash. So I think Golden Guardians are completely fine with that trade, because now they have superior positioning and setup for this Baron.
Soraka global taunt working as intended.
True.
Oh boy, I mean, if you're a TSM fan, we've given them some cope. Here's a little bit more. Yesterday's game was also a very crazy, long game, back and forth. That's kind of their comfort zone. So, you know, they just got to find a couple more of these stalling pickoffs.
True Shot Barrage pokes down Maple and WildTurtle as Golden Guardians set up control in this jungle quadrant. But TSM still have 2 wards into these bushes, so they look for the pick onto Licorice. He's a tank, but they are bursting away at his health rapidly. But WildTurtle, flanked by River, is forced to retreat. Use the Featherstorm, still has 2 summoner spells, but he's out of this fight as Solo finally gets blasted by Gori.
Huge power move for Golden Guardians. Multiple flanks from them actually to surround after Licorice is the one engaged on. The perfect scenario for them. All right, now, Bugi, it is up to him to keep those TSM hopes alive. He's lurking around. He's got a control ward in Baron Pit right now. He sees 8,000 health. It's quickly dropping.
Licorice is marking on the right side. Golden Guardians start to peel off, keeping it at 5,000 HP, but they just turn right onto TSM, knowing that Chime cannot be there for long, and that's another member down as Golden Guardians return to the Baron.
Golden Guardians using huhi to stay topped up. He's getting low, but such a good job baiting over and over again, forcing TSM to keep walking into this blind river, getting picks left and right. Even if they don't get the Baron, they can keep doing this and finding more and more gold.
Can they get vision, though? Bugi's still around. He has the Heartbreaker to get over the wall. They're burning it down. This could be a flip, but 1,000 HP. They have no vision, as you called it, Mark, and that means that is a clean Baron for Golden Guardians.
Golden Guardians looking great off this early game snowball. There were a couple attempts by TSM to find pickoffs, but it's been smooth sailing for the most part. Already closing in on an 8,000 gold lead for Golden Guardians. Looking rough.
Definitely love to see a very, very effective snowball from this squad. Now with, you know, the both Murminers transformed, there is so much damage output here. Baron buff on a team that is already successfully snowballing their poke. Guess what? You're in for some pain at those towers. TSM, at this point, since it's so difficult, you really have to rush towards any sort of vision advantage that you have to try and make a pick.
And they want to make a pick, but if it's on the tank, that is not the prime target that you want to be choosing as TSM. Licorice just shrugs it off. TSM are going to lose control of the river because of it.
Yeah, isn't really a pick if it's on the Sion.
No, not really. You're absolutely right. I mean, WildTurtle's getting some damage, but he's now forced to use the... but the river's approaching from the left side, and he already used the Featherstorm, so he's got no way out of this one, but they don't get a chance to punish it. He still has Flash to play with, but he flashed over the wall, and Stixxay takes him out. TSM are now on the run. No AD carry to support them at this point. Maple trying to put as much damage as he can, but he's not fully online yet. He's just running away as Golden Guardians make short work of TSM.
They're not done yet. Maple able to get out with the flash. TSM tried to pick a fight with Licorice. They turned that one around, instantly find 3 kills, and Golden Guardians are gonna keep pushing down the spot lane. Look for the inhibitor.
The Golden Guardians are the real deal here. Towards the top of the standings of the LCS, and they're gonna stay there, breaking open this TSM base. Inhibitor down very easily for them.
Maple's trying to hold it off as long as he can. But the rest of TSM are not able to defend their inhibitor. And the way that Golden Guardians are playing this game out, this is what we've come to know from their mid-season stride. That long win streak was built off of strong early game leads and closing it out like this.
Yeah, TSM, you can feel, is just getting a little loosey-goosey, desperate in these fights. They tried to, again, be there before Golden Guardians was, but the entire side of Golden Guardians shows up. Then they just start hitting the Sion because he's in range, and that baits this fight. Licorice goes flying into the back line, happy to give his life up, forcing the side of TSM to stick around to kill him, and that gives the rest of the team time to chase down, find the rest of these kills. The undead Sion using his passive well. Good job there, Licorice.
Yeah, look at Stixxay having the time of his life on Ezreal too. Arcane shift forward after arcane shift forward, flash forward, get in there, get the job done.
Yeah, 6-0-2 now for Stixxay. Bugi!
Oh my goodness! They tried to look for a 2v1 on a Gori, but he's got so much damage in his back pocket. He turns it quickly on Bugi's head. Maple's forced away. Chime could not get there to support the cause fast enough. I mean, it's an 11,000 gold lead for Golden Guardians. They are just moments away from closing it down.
And I love this from them. From draft, you could tell as we get another attempted pick.
Continue.
Yeah, you could tell. As soon as the Elise was left up, they were like, oh, we've been waiting for this.
Yep.
We are ready to slam. River Elise, instantly, they could not wait to get the Jayce Elise combo locked in, make sure they've got a front line with Licorice secured, and then absolutely run this straight to the bank for themselves. Top inhibitor's also gone. Inhibitor is exposed. Chime's on the flank, though, looking for huhi.
But Gori is marking him. He charms him up. Does he look for huhi? Can they find him? But no one else from TSM can get past Licorice and River. So Chime's engage is all for naught as TSM are now pushed to the brink. They're pushed to the very edges of their base. They already lost on solo. Maple stuck in his own cage as Golden Guardians will be able to take them out. Stixxay does fall to Bugi, but it's a trade 1-for-1 while TSM still lose 3, and Golden Guardians will make short work of these towers.
Golden Guardians looking on point today. They had a couple struggles in recent weeks, dropping a couple games, but retaining sole possession of 4th place with this win. Might not close it out here. Oh, I was ramping up. False start, my bad.
No, you're good, you're good. We were ready for it. I mean, Golden Guardians, 12,000 gold lead. They have everything set in place, but without Stixxay, props to Bugi for being able to find that assassination. It was a 1,000 gold bounty shutdown as well. Still not enough for him to finish the Divine Sunder, so I still don't think TSM can make a comeback from this point, but I love that they're trying, and they're trying to find ways to do it.
Yeah. Gori, speaking of finds Chime on the flank, so then you get an early Rakan, and he goes in, but there's no damage. No damage to follow up, so you get the Rakan ultimate into the knockup. huhi, as soon as he gets out of it, lets loose the ult of his own, and then here comes the onslaught. Chasing them down, Gori going melee on the Jayce. It's just murder.
Yeah, very aggressive play there by Golden Guardians. We're gonna cut the Stixxay death. We didn't see it, didn't happen.
Observers confirms, Golden Guardians fans. Stixxay remains unkilled in this game. Yeah, I don't see anything.
Draw 0 right there.
You want me to just cover this
edit.
up?
Quick mark edits.
No one look here.
There we go, there we go. Yeah.
Who knows?
That fits our narrative more.
Yeah.
Stixxay deathless, let's go Stixxay! Yeah!
Hey, they hit the scoreboard.
The crowd agreed. That means we're right, guys.
Obviously, someone is trying to get the Stixxay All-Pro campaign.
He's had a great comeback split.
What's Licorice's campaign right now? Towers don't do any damage, like buff towers. He takes like 6 shots or something in a row there. Wait for the minions to follow up, though.
All right, Licorice looks for Maple, forces the flash. Chime turns around and tries to isolate Gori with the quickness and the charm. The knockup lands true, but Gori just does too much damn damage, and he finally goes down. WildTurtle rips feathers. Can he outpace Stixxay and his own damage? The Stixxay arcane shifts backwards. Are TSM actually holding this base? There's no way, right?
They're still scaling. Maple's still scaling on the Veigar. He's still scaling. They are gonna lose their last inhibitor, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way they can hold on to it. Just too much damage already done. They will save the game. Have a flank coming in here from solo.
Can he find a rupture on anyone? Not really. Well, I appreciated it from
You at
Solo.
least see what the TSM comp can do if they had not fallen so far behind. Very strong team fight. Golden Guardians getting a little loose there. We talked about how many shots Licorice had taked already, and then the fact that they were so deep in Golden Guardians were inside TSM's base, it gave them that kind of spread out flank that they could collapse onto Gori. Once he dropped, they could win that team fight there. But still, going to need a couple more plays like that from the side of TSM before they're realistically back into this game.
All right, you keep chanting. We're scaling for late. Veigar here, 296 extra ability power acquired from the passive.
What's his total lane?
And he's got the Void Staff now to try and penetrate and make an easier time of taking down the Sion. So, yeah, there's some positives, even though they're still trying to defend here against a Baron setup from Golden Guardians, which should be pretty easy.
Yeah.
Chime is gonna try to mark out vision first, so he gives Bugi that easier access into the Baron pit, but they turn off it. They realize that TSM have the inside track. They pull off, and it should reset.
All right, Turtle.
Oh no! WildTurtle gets caught out here by Golden Guardians. The silence prevents him from casting Featherstorm or Flash. Solo is taken out as well, and now Gori looking to cut them off on the inside track. Chime is trying to lead a safe passage back for the rest of his teammates to get into the base. Good cage from Maple, holds him off for long. Oh my goodness, Gori! Huge artillery shot class, completely destroys Chime. Bugi falls as well, and there's the closeout of the game that we were looking for. Golden Guardians, an astounding 21-7 stomp. 30 minutes into the game, Golden Guardians take the win.
They say they don't need a Baron to beat TSM there. They just find the kills on the tail end, chase them all the way back to their base, blow up the Nexus, move to 9-6. They are one game away from their only above 500 finish ever in the regular season. One more game and they get that.
9, the most wins that Golden Guardians as an organization have ever gotten in a single split.
Wow.
They're looking at that Big 10, baby.
Super weak, just gotta grab one more.
And this one was impressive. That wasn't really a poke comp, that was a steamroller comp.
Just a dive, poke, engage, counter engage comp.
Pick off
Just
comp.
ran right over them.
But this is the formula for how Golden Guardians been wanting to play, what their team identity is all about, getting Stixxay and huhi out of the bottom lane, linked up with River, and then you just push that mid game, and it's just complete dominance.
Yeah, I think this is a really good job of showcasing why they're so threatening. You talk about the combination of River and huhi. Gori in the mid to late game is just so aggressive, constant hammer form. And then also for Stixxay just being an unrelenting carry. Once you give him gold, you know, he did have that one death, but other than that, had a pretty much flawless game.
Yep, Gori's got the Jayce pass. There aren't many of those here in North America, but he gets
He's
one.
no NA Jayce.
I also really like the Soraka addition to this comp.
Yes.
It gave them so many more options with the global heal, being able to pull off so many of these defensive plays and offensive plays, layering the silence on top of Sion initiations, allowing them to get some picks on top of a lot of poke damage.
And it's an uncharacteristic pick to have in lane because not only gives you pushing power, which a lot of tank supports meant for picking doesn't really give you that much. You're only looking for all-in power, but Soraka, you get push power, you get pick power with that silence layering on top of other CC. It's a really cool pick to see from huhi being able to bust out for a fantastic Golden Guardians win. But that does it us for the cast. We're going to be joining Emily once again, this time with huhi for a Verizon post-game interview.
Hello, and I'm joined by the victorious huhi. So first of all, congratulations. This game was really a return to form for the team that we saw kind of steamrolling through the standings earlier after your 0-4 start. So what was it that you saw in your games, even as late as yesterday, to fix and bring to the stage today?
I think we had a lot of miscommunication in the draft. Games like yesterday, I think some players weren't really on the same page with it, and also in the game, I think we just made a lot of silly mistakes that we thought was an issue. So I think going into playoff, we're just trying to make sure we can iron those things out and be on form.
So regarding draft, you guys brought out a poke composition with the Jayce. Obviously, that has not worked out so well in North America. And it does require a really specific attention to flanks and setups. So what was your game plan after this draft was locked in going into especially your early game?
I think our game plan was, like you already mentioned, using the long range. I guess we were also just kind of repeating ourselves clearly that poke is our win condition. because I'll be honest, like we didn't really play this in scrims at all, and
Ooh, okay.
everyone just kind of locked in our champions. But yeah, I think Gori is really special because whenever we communicate him about the draft, he will just say he doesn't need any bans. He can pick any champions.
Okay.
So that's a big ups, but we just have to find a way to use that smartly.
You mentioned that you've been working on your communication or kind of shoring it up, like finding it again. Poke comps obviously require a lot of communication because you do have to be worried about your flanks. One thing I was really impressed with in this game specifically was your neutral objective setups, and then also how you recovered if, someone gets picked off, you're like doing really good lane assignments, dropping the Herald top initially after you got picked off. So like where is the communication coming in there, and how well do you think you guys did in that front today?
I think adaptation is definitely one of our weakness, but we're trying to improve on it.
Okay.
And usually, I think, especially on stage game, it does get worse. But I think games like this, when everyone is kind of, we know that we're gonna win this game, makes it easier because we're less stressed, and it just feels like a better practice for us. So, yeah, I think it just made it easier when I died. Like our plan was originally Herald top anyway, so like we just stick with it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. All the best in kind of your search for playoffs. You're almost there. And back to the LCS lounge, which I will go sprint to now. Thank you so much, Jay.
Welcome back to the LCS Lounge. Thanks, Emily. She's coming here in a second. I think it's time to pull out the Samsung Fast 5.
Yeah, let's just get into it.
Yeah, we got to see what happened this week in the Samsung Fast 5. We have Closer having the fast level 6 times.
For context for why we're laughing, Sven's off camera to film something later. He's just laughing at us, making fun of us. Anyways, FBI fastest kill, not bad. Closer.
That's a really late fastest kill, but I guess it's the bot lane fastest kill. I think I made this comment last week as well.
Closer had a very good weekend. Or week this week, excuse me.
Yeah, he did. Player of the week voting is down to the wire. Did you put your vote in yet?
I did. I think it's between M&S and Closer probably, I think, for most people. I'm not quite sure where it's going to go.
Yeah, it was tied, and there were a few people left to vote. So.
Hey, Sven, who would you give it to?
M&S.
Shocker.
Wow, he's biased. Okay.
Can't trust him.
Yeah, a reminder that Samsung has partnered with Sleeper and Fantasy LCS, and you can now earn bonus points each week for correctly predicting the fastest performers. Congrats to those of you who claimed that reward this week.
Amazing.
All right.
People might have missed the reference to this from Waiting Room. Just like, what is going on? Yeah.
That's a very
8 hours later.
I just looked up to toss. I saw the cursed shoe bit again. Oh my god.
It's better left unacknowledged. Oh well. Standings.
Sorry.
After week 7. It was a really interesting week. 100 Thieves had so much turmoil. Changed coaches. The meme now is Nukechuck is just saying, just win lol, and they're winning, so coach of the year. But they're at 7 and 8, currently actually tied for 5th with COG and TSM, which is a crazy development because previously it was that tie for 6. COG has fallen from grace. They were 7 and 6 before the weekend. Now they move to 7 or 8. And Golden Guardians, they clutched it out.
Looking good.
Despite Sven's smear campaign on Golden Guardians,
not believing in them,
they did win yet again. So let's start talking about that.
All right, you want to start with Golden Guardians?
Yeah.
I was somewhat on the smear campaign as well, I guess. I initially bought in really hot during the win streak, for narrative fun, but then they had that kind of stumble, and I think I even predicted TSM to beat them today. That did not age well.
I also predicted TSM to beat them today. In talking to Huhi, I thought it was really interesting that he did talk about wanting to work on their communication, where previously that was kind of a strength that we pointed out, where it was like, Huhi, Gori, and River really, really taking control of their early game. The other interesting thing was they didn't practice this composition, which makes it more impressive that they were, attentive enough to pull it off in this game, because I do think this kind of composition, even when it does get ahead, can go very wrong if you don't protect your flanks, if you don't have good setups, and they seem to communicate those really well.
Yeah, it was a bit of a weird draft where you have, the Elise first pick into both your solo laners, like just... It's not so shocking to me to hear that this was not like super pre-planned and they were just reacting. But I think that's also a skill set you'll need heading into playoffs because, things suddenly rise in priority or you get these weird drafts and best of fives, and being able to still end up with a cohesive team comp that you can pilot is a skill in and of itself.
I do want to check quickly who Golden Guardians plays in the final week because they are very solidly in 4th place at the moment. Then they have COG, FlyQuest, and Dignitas. So they're probably getting 10.
They're probably getting 10 wins.
They win one of those games. They might actually get to 11. Like if you're Golden Guardians, you'd say probably get to 11.
Why not 12? FlyQuest looking a little sussy this week.
There you go. But four is very important because that means you get double elimination in the playoffs. So currently, they didn't get cursed. Like I was a little worried with the dive episode of Stixxay and Licorice talking about like, oh yeah, when I was on a bad team, it wasn't working. Now that I'm on a good team, right? And then to just crater immediately afterwards. But it's really nice to watch them actually having the best regular split in their organization's history so far.
Yeah, I mean, just the way Gori played Jayce was impressive. You know, there's an NA Jayce meme, and it's like, okay, you're still KR Jayce. You're still KR Jayce with the hammer form engages and stuff like that.
Let's talk about 100 Thieves.
Yeah.
They're back.
They are.
I think they did beat Dignitas. 13 of 15 teams have beaten Dignitas, but they also beat Golden Guardians on their first game, and now their upcoming schedule, you think they're going to win that Immortals game, which will move them to 8. TSM and EG are both up in the air, so right in the playoff race, in big part because of the 2-0 they had this week.
Yeah, and I think the big thing, I know Bjergsen said it and Closer said it, is their early game, right? And like their early game communication. So not only just their drafting, but really working on getting those early game leads. Because even previously, we talked about this here where we were like, oh, you know, when they have a lead, even if they play it out like really molasses, like slowly, they do usually close out their games, right? So then it was just a matter of, obviously the 3 losing lanes from last week became a meme, but it was a matter of finding ways to get specifically Closer involved in their early game. And I think that was a massive part of their success in both of their wins this week.
Yeah, I mean, they have another huge game on Wednesday against TSM Super Week.
Wednesday.
That's a big one. TSM lost this one to potentially grab 4th place. Now, if they're not able to hang on, TSM might slip out of playoffs. So that is just a massive game. And I think with how good 100 Thieves looked this weekend, it's a lot easier to start believing in them. There you can see for TSM side. May not drop out of playoffs because they do have that Dignitas game. A lot of these teams are playing Dignitas on the final week.
Spoilers. Yeah, I think it's good for the league when 100 Thieves wins. There's just so many Doublelift and Bjergsen fans, honestly.
Classic Jet, just pandering to the audience.
It's good. And the last time they were on a team together was TSM back in 2020. And it wasn't quite this bad during the regular season in Summer Split, but it was very bad. Like, they took a long time to ramp up. When they went to playoffs, they got swept by the Golden Guardians roster back then. I know this is 2020. It's like 3 years ago, 915 days since Bjergsen won an LCS title. But it does have very similar vibes to me. Very, very similar vibes. So if they're able to go on a run, I think they'd actually be a threat in the playoffs. But there's that risk that they just miss playoffs entirely, to me.
They're still at risk, but I think if they can take the TSM game, they're very well positioned to then win the Dignitas one. And then I don't think it even matters because they would be at 9 wins, 9-9. I feel like we're talking about being good enough to get in.
Okay, Mark, did we curse CLG?
Yep. Moving on.
Okay. See you next week. So, no, it was, for those of you who don't know, we did a meme segment about CLG's superstitions of whether or not they'd win or lose. And just because CLG is such a superstitious team, we thought it would be funny, but we taped it when they were winning like a couple weeks ago. We aired it before their games this week. Then they literally lose to Dig, lose again today. And now they're, you know, it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough out there. They could realistically go 7-11.
That loss to Dig hurts so much because they had that game in hand and their comp had such a massive scaling advantage with the Aurelion Soul. Today, it was like the opposite, right? Like their comp had to get off early, like start snowballing early. And when that didn't happen, you saw Someday just literally sitting in front of team fights and the Callista sinking 1,000,000,001 spears and Someday takes no damage. Also, I mean, shout out to EG for the Poppy pick. We didn't really have time to talk about it when we were talking through the draft, but that was a really excellent pick into what CLG wanted to do and made a massive impact when Inspired kept visiting bot.
Yeah, I mean, CLG just has these games sometimes where I feel like they just punt their drafts. They're creative too sometimes. I appreciate the creativity, but that does lead to the occasional misstep where you look at that draft and you're like, how do you win that game? You know, like the Poppy pick was smart, but there's other tank junglers you could have thrown in there potentially to kind of fill that role. Poppy was the best one for just stuffing them actually getting good engages off. They did kill FBI a handful of times in teamfights, but they had to commit like literally everything to kill him. So yeah, CLG just really looking dangerous here because TL is not a total cakewalk. You know, that's the worst record on their 3 opponents. These are 3 very difficult opponents compared to the ones that we just saw earlier.
Yeah, and I thought it's difficult to talk about individual players from CLG's game today because their draft just did not work, even at even gold at all. I did think Contracts probably was a little over-aggressive or misreading fights, but there really wasn't a winnable way to read those fights, kind of no matter what they did.
Yeah.
So it's tricky. When they're at their best, one of their side lanes is dominating, to me. Like, it's either, today was particularly weird because a Sion was locked as a 3rd pick, blind pick, definitely going top lane, and only Aurelia was banned from the top lane. And they just go 4-5 and end up having a Cassante into it. It just feels like they're losing a lot of value from a player who can win so many of those lanes and they've trusted to try and carry the team before. So that's what I don't like. I think they're going to need to recommit to either Dokla trying to take over games as long as Aurelion Soul's getting banned, right? So that's how I think they need to change.
It definitely feels like there's a small list of like CLG champs, and once you knock them off that, I'm not quite sure what the backup is, and if they can just break those champs free so you can't just ban A-Soul in the first phase, you know? If they have more, just a little bit more to break those free, or the Aurelia or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about the top of the table as well. Cloud9 tied for first. The first game on Wednesday is going to be
the
C9 versus
Let's
FlyQuest
go.
for first. Pretty interesting, too, because first, looking like it's going to match up against 4 at the start of the playoffs. Sven would definitely like to play Golden Guardians in the
He
first
said he
round
was
of playoffs.
terrified of EG. He said,
He's not mic'd up, but he's definitely back there if he's able to do it, if he's peanut gallerying us. But okay, I'm really, I was gushing about MNS. I don't know if I'm like the MNS propaganda machine now because he was like dodging a rupture and you and me were talking to Kobe like, look at his movement. He's so good.
Oh yeah,
He's not
Kobe
even
was
burning
not
fat.
a believer for some reason. He just wanted to take the contrary angle. In fairness, he had like this sick sidestep that was earlier in the game
In
before
Syndra, yeah.
Kobe started watching.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kobe's just, I don't know, man.
Kobe's going to watch this bit back and mauled about it.
I mean, the team is just looking super, super good.
Yeah.
So the thing that I was impressed with the most, and I was talking to you guys about this during the game, I might be starting my Blabber propaganda MVP campaign. I haven't done enough research, but we'll see. But I'm just impressed because this is actually just objectively a weaker jungle meta than in the past, where farming is less rewarded,
Counter jungling, less.
counter jungling not as possible, so it's harder to show your superiority over other junglers. And Blabber still just looks great. It doesn't feel like he's taken a step back, where I've seen so many other junglers need to struggle. So I'm just really impressed by what he's been able to do in his 15 games so far this spring.
I think the biggest thing about Blabber is when you look at his pathing, it's so scarily efficient. Like, he's one of the only junglers that still bothers to counter jungle. Just like, if he has pressure from his lanes, he's in your jungle. He is harassing you or he's taking your camps. And with counter jungling having been nerfed so hard, that's not something that a lot of junglers do. They might just try to visit their lanes instead. But Blabber is so, like, again, sneakily efficient about what he does early. So you'll look down and suddenly he will have like a level lead and a 20 farm lead. And you're just like, where did this come from? Like, I didn't see him do anything extraordinary, but he's just, again, so sneaky about it. And then he shows up to fights and he's bigger, he's stronger, his positioning's really good. And if he has to go to his lanes, he will.
Yeah, they're a triple threat team. Feels like all of the teams at the top of the table are pretty stacked across the board. Where
FlyQuest,
like,
you got Impact, Vikla Prince when they're popping, everything.
yeah, even Spico, he's mostly been on tank duty, but there's no doubt that he can play the more bruiser carry oriented meta. That's actually what he made his name on. So like, it's not like if there's a meta shift, suddenly Spica's going to drop out. You know, like it's a case where I feel like the top 3, EG is had a rockier regular season, but I don't think there's any doubt in their like top end if they're functioning well.
And if they get into a 2-3 matchup, it's still a best of 5, and they won't have side select for the first game, and that's like their only disadvantage.
Oh no.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. MasterCard Player of the Week. It's between Closer and M&S. M&S. It is.
Dun dun dun. M&S.
Woo!
Absolutely popped off in the 2 wins this week for them versus EG and TL. Not like the most insane KDA scorelines like we've seen from some AD carries this split, but in terms of game impact, if you go back and rewatch these, very, very, very good. The counterpick Tryndamere yesterday, absolutely slapping down, then the Syndra today.
Yeah, I do want to give an extra shout out to his Syndra because his positioning in a lot of these fights really made it so that they could not do anything because he was just constantly threatening to, you know, 100-0 someone. This is the Tryndamere game, though.
Three
just,
solo kills.
Yeah.
In that one. But I would say the Syndra game, his movement, and then also just how much presence he had in every team fight. Like, I'm hoping we have it in this role.
The part where he's like just positioning
there was one in the mid lane.
river, or not in river, in topside jungle.
Well, and I think like, though he hasn't played enough games for me to probably give him like the first all-pro nod because he didn't come into the second round robin, basically. Yeah. There's a case to be made that he's actually the best performing mid laner in the games that, or like the time frame that he's been in the LCS.
Yeah.
There's a legitimate case that he could be your all-pro, and like I would disagree based off my own metrics, but like if someone else put him there, I wouldn't be like, oh no.
It's super exciting, and the last thing I'll say about this is it just does feel like Cloud9 has found a much better groove with his ability to win lane, and everyone just playing very aggressive and up-tempo. Yeah. In the same way that when they went on their run at the end of summer last split of like Jensen playing control mages, Berserker playing hyper carries, and Sven playing enchanter bots, that worked, right? They were very efficient at that. And it looks like it's a much different style, but they're very efficient at it now, just kind of winning all their lanes. So want to track that going forward. Congratulations to M&S for Player of the Week. And next week, it's a super week. Wednesday. Thursday, Friday. But Wednesday, Cloud9 versus FlyQuest, Golden Guardians
versus
CLG,
God.
Yeah.
100 Thieves versus TSM.
Those first
3 games are awesome. TL versus Dignitas at the end, and EG versus Immortals for the 4th game.
Bangers across the board.
Yeah, those first 2 games. I hope you were watching enough to know that it starts on a Wednesday. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on some really awesome games. Just a reminder that the LEC Spring Split starts tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific because they did a winter split and now it's a spring split. Noon Eastern, and NACL playoffs kick off at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 Eastern. Check it out if you want. But most importantly, Wednesday here, Ezreal is really, really tall.
He's actually ridiculously tall.
Yeah.
Oh, is that not the goodbye?
They just decided to shoot it from other
came back
angles.
to us. I was
We're
demiking.
done.
I'm done.
Yeah.
We are done.
Bye.
Team Liquid pops the Viego, but now Off is there, and Core JJ is immediately killed. Team Liquid has the fun, and Berserker's got his gun. He's gonna take out everybody, make it a double. Team Liquid are thinking about maybe stealing it away, but now they gotta be careful. The team's all split up. Berserker's gonna be focused, but Yon's gonna be killed. It's Blabber taking the kill as Yon dies, Summit dies, Core dies, Team Liquid dies. Back on the Herald. Should be another eyeball proc here. Never mind, we're just gonna get a fight. They run in, and Ayla is the first to explode as Kenby stays alive thanks to the reset. Prince has to flash back over the wall, and the top laners have joined the fight. Revenge wants to go in on Spica, who's now stuck, but he gets back over the wall. Not far enough. Impact is gonna go in first, and Fleshy's gonna get bursted down. Vikla takes that kill, and now Balulu's looking for the ult. Prince is low. Revenge wants to kill him, but he can't quite find the damage. Now he solos him out. Balulu finds a tunnel to 3. Immortals, his team fighting FlyQuest, but FlyQuest are better at team fighting. Immortals collapse, and FlyQuest march to victory.
CLG gonna try to look. He does have body slam flash.
Okay, goes for the body slam, throws out the ulti. Vulcan with a step back, but now EG's ready to counter him. This is a slaughter. Somedays ready for the re-engage. Poom and Dokla could be the targets. Poom wants to find the depth charge. He's pulled to safety by Luger. Can they get the kill they need on the FBI? He's protected for now. CLG looking to bury the AD carry, and they got him. But at what price?
Milan, they are first to top. They are on the top curve right now.
I'm TPing back here, and then I'm being good conditions. We can start playing fast. Good enough. Don't die this edge. Don't die this edge.
Yeah. No ult yet.
Let's go, Milan. Good job.
Milan.
Jungle is gone for Dignitas.
100 Thieves pressing the charge, fishing for more damage. Double steps forward, forced to use the Featherstorm, but he gets the kill on Jensen anyway. He knew what he was doing as Closer looks for the Arctic Assault into flash, and beautiful knockup from Bucio. That's our most valuable prospect right there, baby, from last summer. River's approaching for the left side, and he already used the Featherstorm, so he's got no way out of this one, but they don't get a chance to punish it. He still has flash to play with, but he flashed over the wall, and Stixxay takes him out. TSM are now on the run. Good cage from Maple, holds him off for oh my goodness, Gori! Huge artillery shot blast, completely destroys Chime. Bugi falls as well, and there's the closeout of the game that we were looking for. Golden Guardians, an astounding 21-7 stomp